What is up, Amazon sellers? Hang on a second. Wait. Thank you. Thank you. What is going on? Welcome back to the Amazon News and Q&A show live. We're with you every Wednesday, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. This is a place where we share some e-commerce news, stats, the occasional business maxim, answer your questions about selling on Amazon. So if you have a question about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, or a Keepa quandary, drop it in the chat, and we will do our best to help you. We'll bring the news, you bring the questions, and that's how this whole thing comes together. Otherwise, it'd be like false advertising or something, right? For those of you new here, my name is Chris Rasick, and I am your solitudinarian host today. Chris Grant is traveling, and he made an announcement in OAC Plus. If you remember there, you know exactly what he's doing right now, and you know that is a much more important place to be for him right now. So I am going to handle the Thanksgiving Eve duties, and happy Thanksgiving Eve to everyone that decided to spend a little bit of your day with us. Start firing off the questions. I have some news for you. I'll get to your questions as well. So Thanksgiving Eve, a big travel day. There's a couple big things going on today on Thanksgiving Eve. If you're traveling to your childhood home, it may be worth your time to dig through some of the closets because three brothers cleaning out their mother's attic found a copy of Superman issue number 1 from 1939. And that comic book just sold at auction for a new record $9 million. So make sure that you check the attic, check the closets if you're going back to your childhood home. So I said happy Thanksgiving Eve, everyone. So I'll see feels like we've been talking about Black Friday for like 3 months now. But obviously day after tomorrow is Black Friday. I'll see your Black Friday and I will raise you a Green Wednesday. That is what some people are calling today, Green Wednesday. The reason that they're calling it that is average cannabis sales jumped 91% on average today compared to a typical Wednesday. This is actually the second biggest day of the year in what is now a $30 billion cannabis industry. And of course, it's second only to April 20th. If you don't know the significance of that, ask somebody younger than you. So now, tomorrow, so, now you understand a little bit better if that one cousin who was always wearing Birkenstocks even before they became popular again, if that cousin decides to take a pre-dinner walk tomorrow, you got a better idea of what's going on. So I've got some news. We're going to dive into that now. Let me see who is here. Christy's here. Heather. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Happy Thanksgiving Eve, Christy. We got Polly in the house. Happy Thanksgiving. See, and your kids, if they watch the show, they're going to be raiding your attic and your closet looking for things to flip. Syed, good to see you. Hello, Becky. Karen, thanks for hanging out. Luke, my man, happy Thanksgiving to you. There's Shannon, good to see you. On time for once, appreciate that. All right, David, what's up, man? Have to do identity verification, and Amazon won't accept my passport. Driver's license was used previously and now expired. Help page doesn't lead to a phone call anymore, and opening a case isn't helpful. Interesting. Amazon won't accept your passport. Boy, that's if you have, I would go to your account health page. So you're saying under the account health page, you can't request a call. Is that page not there anymore for you? That's what I would do. I mean, one way or another, you have to get a hold of somebody. I would think the passport issue. If you get a human, if you can actually talk to a human, I'd imagine that eventually, with a little bit of common sense and maybe the right person, that should get it done for you. So, Karen, I shouldn't admit how long it takes me to actually research a synonym for solitary or alone. It's one of the biggest pre-show research tasks that I have to do when I'm doing a solo show. So, Kevin, good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you. Nick P. Sells just joined OAC Plus yesterday. Very good. Excellent choice, if I do say so myself. We will get into there'll be some details about the OAC Plus. A big sale is going on through Cyber Monday. Chris has sent emails about it. I even sent emails about it. It's a major discount. We'll get into that a little bit. Maybe because I'm deactivated pending ID verification. Oh, maybe. I would exhaust every avenue of trying to get somebody on the phone, trying to get some sort of call. Try to escalate it through email if you can. I honestly, I'm not sure. That's likely the reason. That the request to call is hidden. So I would try to request a call through, replying to any emails that you received, any communications that you are getting from Amazon. I'd pound those pretty hard. So, Becky, thank you very much. Yeah, I did cross the $8,000 mark in my fundraising efforts for Movember.com. I should put that banner back up there. So there's the link if you are interested. I'm almost at the point now where it's like, all right, let's pump the brakes, because like I've got a goal next year to start considering, right? But yeah, you guys have been awesome. The community, like I said, I was nervous. Raised $7,100 last year. Made $7,500 my goal this year, and was very nervous about it. But you guys showed up. So thank you so much to everyone that was that donated. The generosity has been much appreciated and almost overwhelming. You guys are awesome. So there's a shout out. You should join. It's a steal and a game changer. Doing OA for over 10 years and learn something new in the first 10 minutes. Wow, that's a pretty strong testimonial. That's awesome. That's great to hear. I appreciate it. So if you guys have some questions, I hope I'll be able to answer some of them. I can't help with the ID verification. I'm 0 for 1 already, but I will try to get you some good answers here eventually. So let me get to the first piece of news. Give you guys some time to type in some questions, add some comments. I did find I've got 4 pieces of news loaded. We'll see if we can get to them all, depending on how the conversation goes. First one I want to let you know is that Amazon is sending an urgent alert that 300 million customers are at risk of cyber threat as we approach Black Friday. Amazon issued the warning to over 300 million active customers, which is basically all of us. And they sent the alert out to let us know that cyber criminals are ramping up phishing and impersonation attacks during the 2025 Black Friday holiday season. The alert, this is coming after a cybersecurity report found thousands of malicious, often holiday or branded themed domains registered in recent months. Scammers are reportedly using fake delivery notices, bogus account issue alerts, fraudulent ads on social media, spoofed customer service calls, and suspicious links to harvest login credentials and payment data. Amazon is urging users to stick to its official website or app, enable two-factor authentication or passkeys, and avoid providing sensitive information over the phone or email. This is a good reminder that fraud risks spike during big sales events. They kind of go hand in hand. Sellers should always make sure you're double checking that order notifications and communications are real before sharing any sensitive information with any representative buyers or suppliers. This may be what Luke went through. There was curious communication. I think it was Luke in the OAC Plus. Looked legit, and these things are getting more and more difficult to decipher whether they're legit or not. So as the scams get more sophisticated, it requires even more diligence on our parts to make sure that it's legit, before we get hurt. So let me see. Let's do another piece of news, and then I'll jump back into the comments, see what's shaking. Amazon, their satellite network, got a rebrand recently. Amazon Leo, that's what was formerly known as Project Kuiper, got a fresh name just this month, in the middle of this month. With the rebrand, Amazon also removed all references to affordability and bringing broadband to underserved communities from the public messaging. Instead, the company now emphasizes fast, reliable internet, enterprise-ready services, 4K streaming, and broadband for home or commercial use. And this signals a shift away from low-cost broadband toward premium, more revenue-driven contracts. It's not an unfamiliar pivot with these kinds of things. When ambition meets economics, the serve the underserved mission frequently gets trimmed. Amazon seems to have decided that rural broadband, at least under its terms, isn't profitable enough. Amazon Leo will likely compete head-to-head with SpaceX's Starlink for business and premium users, meaning whoever wins the race could shape the future of satellite broadband. On the flip side, rural internet hopes got ghosted a little bit, right? Communities that counted on cheaper connectivity, maybe forming future markets, which is kind of what we thought Amazon was going for. They may now get ignored, or they've at least been put on the back burner for now. Pretty interesting news. It's the opposite. It's about 180 degrees from the efforts that we reported not long ago, where Amazon was actually expanding last mile delivery into more rural areas. And that was actually paying off for them. I think that was cited in one of the revenue reports that was actually successful for them. So I'm not really sure why this internet service isn't following suit. Because you'd think they would go hand in hand, with last mile delivery, and now they get internet service. Yeah, it's exactly. Seems like the exact strategy they were going for. They're trying to expand their market into literally the places that people can't reach Amazon. If you don't have internet, you can't shop there. And so they addressed last mile. So you need your packages delivered, and they were doing that at a time that UPS and FedEx were actually scaling back. They were kind of looking at it as a cost cutting measure, and they were reducing the last mile in less populated areas. So Amazon stepped up. That was a move that paid off. So this is pretty curious. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if maybe that cuts the legs out from underneath. The more rural areas. The expansion that they were experiencing. So let me see what we got here. What's going on? So there's that. David, I am, yes, or was at least last round, was in continuity. Plan on joining OAC Plus once I get through this. Excellent. Yeah, hopefully get that ID thing shored up and figured out. Karen, appreciate you. I'm very touched by all the support. Shannon says, I found somebody else's address in my ship to addresses on Amazon. Boy, that might warrant a little bit of a further investigation, I'd imagine. Jeffrey, what's happening, man? These ungated requirements seem to be more and more difficult. I actually have the opposite opinion. I actually feel like from what I'm experiencing, they've actually been loosening up a little bit. But do we really have to buy hundreds of units? Sometimes, yeah. But I'm getting more and more requests for just 10 units. Yeah, like a lot of them. It seems like, and I just try to auto ungate. Like I don't actively ungate the stuff. If it doesn't auto ungate, I'll take a look and see what they're asking for. Seems like the well-known brands. I feel like I can almost predict. I would imagine I have a pretty good batting average. If I go into when I click new and if it doesn't light up, sell this product and it says apply to sell. Before I click that, as that page is loading, I think I probably have a pretty good batting average on whether it's going to be 10 units or 100 or more units based on what I know of the brand. Seems like the bigger brands, the more popular, better selling brands, they have the higher requirements still. And then a lot of those random brands, the smaller ones that where you're almost surprised to see if you have a seasoned account. Sometimes I'm surprised to see that it's lit up red and I have to request approval. And then I'm surprised that it doesn't auto ungate. But then when I click apply to sell, I'll see 10 units and it's like, okay, well, if I really want to sell this brand, it's not a major investment if I could take them at their word. If they ask for 10 now and it remains 10 the whole time, I kind of keep that in the back of my head. So. Test order seems very expensive when starting with a new brand. Yeah. And I think that's essentially the point, Jeffrey. I think because it's the higher value brands that I've observed still have 100 units or more as the request. I think that's intentional, because the higher value brand, Amazon has a responsibility to the brands to some degree. They can't just let it be the Wild West. They can't let anybody, just every new seller sell every single brand. That like there's some logic behind the gating process. So you got to kind of consider that a little bit. And then obviously, we don't know what the communication is like. Are these brands, are they talking to Amazon? Like if somebody gets upset, are they calling in trying to speak to a rep or something like that and said, hey, we're concerned. Because we'll have waves of counterfeits without test buys. That's obviously the brand pulling Amazon up and going WTF. Like what? What are all these? These are our products. Who are these sellers? You could see certain reactions. Where I guess some brands are going to decide to fire off counterfeits without test buys and say, we didn't authorize any of this. Other brands are going to know the proper way to do it and look into brand registry or locking it down and looking into that whole process. I think it's safe to assume that some of them are trying to reach out to Amazon or, go through that process, and actually talk to somebody behind the scenes at Amazon and saying, hey, what can we do about this? And then I'd imagine there are multiple levels, to where something can go red restricted, if the brand wants to take a hard line and not have third-party sellers. Or I could see Amazon maybe providing, just extending an olive branch, saying, how about we tighten it up and we only let seasoned sellers, if I don't know. It seems like that's a conversation that could happen. I don't know any of that for a fact. I just made it all up on the spot, but you know, and it's risky for me to sit here and think common sense plays a role in this stuff. But yeah, being expensive, that's if they want to up the barrier to entry on a specific brand, I can understand that. If there's because look, there is reputational risk. If you read the news article on Bath and Body Works, where they were talking about how they're going to start selling on Amazon. We covered that on the last live show. They know, Bath and Body Works was well aware of it. They even had sales figures. They knew that third-party sellers sold $60 to $80 million a year worth of their merchandise on Amazon. And they called it gray market sales in the communication. So they're aware of what's going on. And it's just a matter of whether they want to decide to engage with Amazon and have a little bit more control. Because in that article, they even mentioned that they think they have less control over the customer's perception of the brand, and honestly, we've heard stories and we've seen what some other sellers are doing. It's not always consistent. There are bad sellers out there. There are bad sellers doing really stupid things, and they do things that make it harder for the rest of us. So take that perception from a brand perspective. You can't really blame them if they want things tightened up a little bit as far as who sells their stuff. It's better than taking it away completely, but frustrating as you're trying to break through and start selling something. Syed, how do you configure quantity of units? Like some sites often cancel our 10-unit quantities, especially beauty, due to which I start purchasing only 5. How do you do that? Yeah, you have to try to get creative. I haven't gone through this specific scenario because I mentioned it before. I simply don't ungate stuff very often. I still haven't ungated anything since Nike, and that was 2 years ago. But when I do, I typically see. But here's the thing, Syed, is if you're having trouble getting the 10 units that you need to ungate, what are the prospects like of you getting enough units on a regular basis to make that ungate worth the cost in the first place? I only ungate stuff and I don't do it very often, but when I do, I have a supplier, I have a source that I know I can get a decent amount. Like when I ungated Nike, I've got an outlet that's, about an hour and a half drive. I knew they have coupons and they're part of an outlet. They're part of Tandra Outlets. I knew I could join Tandra Outlets on an annual fee. That gives me coupons for stuff, which is going to reduce my buy cost. There are other stores. I figured I could just make 1 to 2 trips a month down to the outlets, make sure I hit Nike while I was there, and there's a bunch of other stuff that I can sell. I knew that was an option. I know Nike.com runs sales. I've sourced from there before. That's a possibility. I know there are sites like Finish Line. Was it ASOS? ASOS? A bunch of Nike sold everywhere. I could go into a Kohl's, do RA or OA through Kohl's. They carry a bunch of Nike stuff. I had prospects, so I knew even if I have to sell the products that I bought to ungate at a small loss, over the long term, I was going to profit, assuming they weren't going to take my approval away. And, Nike's a bad example from that perspective because things got weird shortly afterwards. But under a normal circumstance, I only ungate something if I know I'm going to be able to obtain inventory on a regular basis, because there's not only is it, the cost of the products, which, it's pretty rare to find something that you buy to ungate that's also profitable. The vast majority of the time, sellers, when they ungate something, they got to take a loss, or they got to, it's just break even, because that's not the point, to make money off the ungate, But in addition to the cost of the inventory to get ungated, you also have the time and effort involved. Those are resources that we only have so much of. So I kind of reevaluate the strategy, because if you need 10 and you're having trouble getting 10, is it really worth the trouble to ungate this? Like, where are you going to get the inventory? Are you just going to buy five units every 2 weeks? And if you're going to do that, is that research and that monitoring on a regular basis, is that time well served, or is it better served by an inventory that you're already approved to sell? So. How many should we have to consider optimized shipment? I'm doing, even with a 100 or 20. Oh, okay, so 5 boxes of 20 each. What ideal scenario you think we should go with? When people talk about this, it's usually always weights. I know, I don't remember who talks about it, but I know there's, if you do a little bit of research, there's some people that swear by like mid 30s, like in the, like 35 to 40 pounds, keeping it in that range. Other people say, I know there are people that do optimized shipments at 18 pounds per box. So it's really something you're going to be able to play with. I mean, the nice thing with this is you're able to try it, and you can kind of unwind the shipment, and you can do different configurations and see what the cost is. This is probably a scenario where to find out the ideal scenario, you're probably just going to have to get your hands dirty a little bit and just document it. Jay Slayer, I've seen some duplicate listings recently. What is the risk level to sell on these? Not zero. That's the definitive. It's about as much of a definitive answer as I can give you. The Amazon catalog is very strange. Actually, Syed and I were just talking about this in the OAC Plus last night. There's some curiosities in the Amazon catalog, and there's really no rhyme or reason as to why stuff hasn't been pulled down. The example that I gave is there's still MAC Cosmetics, Mac Cosmetics. There's still makeup being sold under Mac Tools, like MAC with no periods. MAC, that's a tool brand, and there's makeup being sold under the Tool brand still. And there's at least half a dozen variations of Mac. When you go look through the catalog, I don't even bother sourcing that brand anymore, just because feels like a minefield. So it's going to kind of depend on the duplicate listing itself, because I don't think all duplicate listings are created equally. There are, if it's not brand registered, if it doesn't say the Mac store, if it just says brand Mac, and I'll have a checklist. There's sometimes legitimate duplicates, and it's just a matter of time before Amazon, we assume, is going to combine the listings. There's absolutely times where there's multiple listings of the product, and there's nothing against terms of service necessarily. Amazon just hasn't combined them yet. What you would want to make sure is you'd want to verify everything that you have control of. So if you're going to, because this is a situation that I've taken advantage of before. You'll find two listings, and it's a Yeti cup, right? The color matches, the lids are the same or whatever. One selling at MSRP and it's not profitable, and the duplicate is selling at a profit. The listing should be combined. Eventually at some point Amazon's going to go, oh yeah, like this is the same thing. Let's combine these two. That's a roll of the dice as far as what the timing is going to be when Amazon gets to that. But while that duplicate is out there, that profitable one, I've sold on it. If it's not misbranded, and I'm confident that I have a match. If I can source it profitably, yeah, I do it. And I accept that risk. That's kind of, you'll probably have different opinions. Like if you polled Amazon sellers, you'll have people like me that's like, yeah, I don't go real deep, but while it's profitable, I'll skim some profits, 5, 10, 15 units at a time. You may run into another seller that simply had bad luck as far as timing goes. And they're like, no, you know what? Half the time I try to sell on a duplicate listing, Amazon combines it. And then I'm stuck with having to sell it at a loss or whatever, because now I'm on a listing that's MSRP. It's tough to predict the timing of that sort of stuff. There's certainly no patterns that I've been able to identify. Not that I have regular exposure to that scenario, but I do come across it. And from my standpoint, if one of the listings is profitable, hell, Jay, sometimes I run into 2 listings and they're both profitable to different degrees. Like one's a little bit smaller margin, but it's a faster seller. And then there's a slower seller that's more money. I've sold on both of them before. Obviously the downside of Amazon combining those listings, isn't quite as, doesn't hurt so bad. Right. But yeah, I don't really have a problem, with that scenario, as long as the listing itself is good. Right. So, Syed. Okay, so I didn't get the question right. My question was for sales and need perspective, not on gating. Like I need to purchase 10 or 10 plus, but due to order cancellation fears, I end up purchasing only 5 units. Oh, I got you. So not for ungating. Yeah, so you got to kind of test it. Obviously, places like, I don't have to tell you this. An OAC plus, you fire off a question, like, hey, anybody ordered from this site, and kind of lean on your network as much as possible. See if anybody knows. Tools like if you have OA Buddy, make sure, see if there's any notes in there from the other sellers. That's a good tool when it does have that store registered and it has some information for you. My default, when I'm limited and I've got to kind of tread carefully, I'll put in my order for 5 units and I'll wait for the shipping confirmation. And I don't know that I have hard evidence that works. That's probably still anecdotal, but that there are different departments, right? There's, that you receive the order, they have to process the order, and then there's usually a separate shipping department. So I feel like, at least the logic that I'm using by doing that is that it's left a department, wherever it is during processing, and then it goes to the shipping department. So if I pop up again in the processing department with a new order, my name's not, at least not on the top of their desk at that time. I'm sure every retailer has their own fraud alerts, dialed to different levels of aggressiveness. I understand that. But that's my default. Like I'll take an order, I'll put an order in 5. Once I get the shipping confirmation, if I am dead set on ordering more, then I'll place the next order after the first one's shipped. And then from there, you can do that. Try to do that as much as possible. And if you still need more quantity, or, maybe there's a new sales cycle down the road, weeks or months later, you could try to get more aggressive with it. You could put in an order, wait 24 hours, put in your next order, even if you don't have a shipping confirmation, but make sure you're documenting it somewhere. That's what I like OA Buddy has that spot to put your own notes. Something like that, or have some sort of spreadsheet that you can log this stuff and kind of document your timing and whether it worked, yay or nay, and you'll be able to dial in what the ideal frequency is to get the maximum amount of inventory from the retailer. Gated on one, not on the other. Yeah, that's interesting. I would check and see if the one that's gated, if that happens to be like transparency codes. Sometimes I've run into that where it is a match, but one listing is just kind of like the younger one, the more current one. I'd see if that's the issue. I'd try to. I mean, there are scenarios where the listings will match, and they're both good listings. One's gated, one's not. The transparency codes is one example of a scenario. You just want to be extra diligent, making sure that the one that you can sell, if you decide to sell, that's not misbranded. It's not going to come back and bite you. Jeffrey, I think I now understand a business line of credit. Excellent. Is it mainly used to pay off your business credit card? That way your interest rate is on the line of credit instead of the interest from the credit card. That is primarily how I utilize my business line of credit, because I think mine's down to, they've been cutting the prime rate, and that's what my business line of credit is tied to. It's just a margin over the prime rate. So these cuts have actually benefited me from a business line of credit perspective. So I'm now paying less interest on the credit cards too. But business line of credit is down to 9%. Credit cards are probably 15 to 19. I don't pay close attention to what those are, but significantly higher than my business line of credit. So it's kind of like the hierarchy. Obviously you pay off whatever you can, and excuse me, I'm just of the opinion. I know you're not supposed to say ever to carry a balance, like, I know that's the right thing to say, but honestly, I've been honest about it for a long time now. I'm not sure how you scale if you're not putting in a whole bunch of cash right from the start. If that's not the scenario, if you're working with credit, I'm not really sure how you scale at any kind of significant pace without at least carrying a little bit of a credit card balance. So in those scenarios where you just can't get around it, you're going to pay a little bit of interest. Obviously, I'd much rather pay interest at 9% than the 17% on the business card. So yeah, that's exactly how I utilize those tools in the capital toolbox. Syed, from the discussion, I got a question regarding misbranding. Yesterday, I find a product under ABC brand, and its brand name on Amazon was XYZ. On checking, I found both are Lowe's brand. Should I go with it, as both brands are owned by Lowe's? That's, I don't think I would. I'm trying to think of like a scenario, because essentially, if at the brand level, what it would on the listing page, the product detail page, where it says brand, if what that says on what Amazon populates on the product detail page doesn't match the actual brand that I'm selling, even though they're owned by the same parent company, I'm going to pass. Because there are plenty of scenarios where you'd have to know, gosh, if you decided to do it, you'd have to make sure that the brands truly are identical, because Lowe's can sell multiple brands. like take Walmart, for example. Walmart has multiple house brands. One of them is Great Value, and that's kind of basically their discount brand, and they will they'll kind of dupe popular brands. You have a bag of Lay's potato chips, and they're $5. Great Value potato chips will be $3 and change, right? Different, obviously different potato chips, but that's the Great Value brand. That's kind of positioned as a generic alternative. Walmart also has something called Better Goods, and Better Goods, that's a relatively new house brand that they came out with, and that's designed to be a little bit upscale, right? And they're trying to compete more one-to-one with the actual popular brands, so the price points are higher, probably still a little bit lower than the brand names, but they're going to be higher than Great Value versions, right? And so if you have beef jerky, you're going to have Jack Link's is going to be $10 a bag, Better Goods will be $8.50, and then Great Value is going to be $7. So in a scenario where if it's Better Goods and Great Value, if it's that type of scenario, you could investigate and say, oh, these are both owned by Walmart, but they are distinctly different products, and that may not match the scenario. I understand that, but that's an example of having the same parent company, but being distinct, two distinct different brands. So I wouldn't do it. Champion 715. How long does it take to complete the Consumer Inform Act? I turned in my documents, but still waiting for approval. Typically, it's not a lengthy process. Yeah, I would. I don't know how long it's been, but if it's more than a few days, maybe send a little hey, looking for an update message to somebody. Why is Amazon so dramatic? If they weren't dramatic, Polly, why we wouldn't have much to talk about on these shows, right? And on social media channels and Facebook groups and stuff. I got an account risk of deactivation alert on my app this morning. Clicked into it, and it's something about the Inform Act. Yes, that's one of those. Yeah, I think Amazon secretly gets their jollies off of getting our heart rates up a little bit. They are very serious when it comes to the Inform Act. And yeah, it's once you get through that initial verification, it's likely just kind of, most of the time, it's just confirming that your information is still accurate. Yeah, I don't know why they get why they get all uppity about that. Yeah, if you want to shoot me a DM, Syed, I could take a look at it. Yeah, and give a better idea. So, all right. So let's get back to the news. I got a couple more pieces of news. Still got plenty of time for questions. Fire them off in there. In the meantime, I want to let you guys know that retailers are pushing for anti-theft legislation, and they're pushing soon. Like, they want something done this year still. Retailers are turning up the pressure on Congress to act before year end. The NRF and RILA, along with several major chains, urged bipartisan leaders on November 19th of this year to pass a bill aimed at combating organized retail crime. The legislation seeks to raise penalties, enhance coordination between retailers and law enforcement, and create stronger tools to tackle theft syndicates rather than just isolated shoplifters. So this matters to us, obviously, because tighter retail crime laws could shift how major brick and mortar chains manage loss prevention, could influence how they handle inventory stock levels, could change shrink allowances, And that may in turn affect pricing, promotional strategies, and supply waves. Inventory and loss prevention pressure. Big retailers tightening up may increase the cost of shrink, which might lead to higher prices potentially, or lower allowances for clearance and bulk deals. The regulatory shift, if new laws become precedent, smaller sellers might need to pay closer attention to compliance, anti-fraud measures, and inventory proofing in our own business. Impact to the marketplace, chains under higher legal loss pressure could push more inventory online, or expedite liquidation of slow-moving stock, which would obviously be a sourcing opportunity. So there's good and bad in this. Also organized retail crime, if they can actually reframe that as systemic risk, that could actually shift freight returns, inventory policies at chain stores as well. So these are all things that we need to kind of monitor, at least passively. Because honestly, we've detailed it over and over again, kind of incidents and isolated incidents at a time. But combined, the retail theft, it affects how we do what we do. It affects requirements. It's probably indirectly causing some of the compliance issues that we've run into. Just abrupt shifts in policy, gating requirements. I mean, you can't say that the retail theft doesn't influence that to some degree. In fact, honestly, I think retail theft is a major reason for Section 3s, counterfeits and retail theft. I think you combine those two issues. I think that's one of the biggest drivers of why they started with the Section 3 rollout. So last piece of news, and then I will get to your questions. Whatnot raised $225 million in an effort to fuel global expansion. That $225 million was done in a Series F round. It was co-led by DST Global and Capital G. That funding round pushes the valuation of Whatnot to approximately $11.5 billion now. The platform, originally focused on collectibles, trading cards, sneakers, and the like, has expanded into dozens of categories now: fashion, electronics, home goods, vintage, etc. And it's generated over $6 billion in gross merchandise revenue so far this year. So that number is still going to climb. Whatnot says it will use the new capital to scale internationally, also to beef up trust and safety systems, build out seller tools, and invest in marketing and platform enhancements. This means, live commerce, it's no longer a fringe play, right? With that kind of cash and that kind of valuation, Whatnot's signaling that live stream auctions and social commerce marketplaces are aiming to go mainstream. That means there are more channels than ever to unload goods as an Amazon seller, when we need to go take it to another platform. And Whatnot, when the part where they're pushing tools and trust and safety features, that can definitely lower friction for sellers on the platform. It makes onboarding a little bit easier. It'll make shipping easier, payment handling, and maybe overall fewer headaches. That could open a viable alternative revenue stream, for arbitrage sellers that are trying to diversify. And it hasn't been so long that we learned valuable lessons on the value of diversification. And take this for what it's worth. More competition for Amazon and other e-commerce giants could mean downward pressure on fees, possibly. Don't laugh at me. Or at least more pressure to add services or increase responsiveness, and basically overall pay attention to staying competitive. We've said for a long time, competition is good. That's good for us in this marketplace. So some big numbers from Whatnot. I am curious, anybody selling on Whatnot? I know of a couple people that have dipped a toe in to Whatnot. I think it's pretty interesting. It's probably not going away. I'm not sure if we have I'm not sure if the leader has emerged yet. It very well could be Whatnot that becomes the major player. We shall see. But yeah, it's live commerce, live e-commerce. It's popular. It's been popular in China for quite a bit of time. So, but we're yet to have anybody break through and bring it mainstream, in the U.S. So it'll be interesting to see. No problem, Chevy. We don't skip shows around here, so we'll happy to do it. Right. Yeah. If we could skip, getting our blood pressure up to dangerous levels as we try to do this job, that would be very much appreciated, wouldn't it? Hey, finally got Seller Central on the phone. Might as well be talking to a random person on the street. Yeah, just constant requests, to escalate it. I think it's kind of like trying to fight an account health issue. You kind of ask the same questions, you try to get a different person on, and sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right person that's going to actually listen to you. I don't think anything, few things anymore on Amazon are one shot, one kill, so to speak. So yeah, it may take more than one. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate that. What are we talking about? Whatnot it was live at ASD, or sellers selling live at ASD. That's pretty interesting. Another little a perk of trade shows that you wouldn't necessarily think of. So that's all the news that I have. I did want to talk about the it's come up a few times, the OAC Plus. I know. Sorry if you're sick of hearing about it, but this is a legit opportunity. The history of the OAC Plus. If you don't know what it is, it's a community. You've likely seen it in the comments. You've heard us talk about it before. But it's a new community, and well over 200 members now. And features are being added. Courses are still coming in. Keepa SOPs are going to show up eventually. But it's a new community, and it's got a big head of steam. And a little bit of the history of it. It started out when it was first launched. There was a founder's rate, and the founder's rate was there is an initiation fee on all these plans, right? And even people that took advantage of the founder's rate. There's an initiation fee, and then the ongoing monthly fee was $49 a month, and that ran for a good period of time. And we tried to get the word out. We talked about it as much as possible, and a bunch of people took advantage. Once the founder's rate was locked down, it went from $49 a month up to $99 a month, right? Significant jump from the founder's rate. Here's the kicker. Competitors in the space, like a community that has as much to offer or comparable of what the OAC Plus, you're going to pay $150, if not more, $150 a month for access to those communities. So even at the $99, the regular price, it's a bargain. However, the Black Friday special that's going on right now, Black Friday 40 is the coupon code. That'll take 40% off both the initiation fee and your monthly fee, right? So that $99 gets knocked down to $59. So it's a significant savings, especially when you consider the competitors in the space charging $150, $200 a month. So that's Black Friday 40. When you go to the OAC Plus, and to get there, you go oachallenge.com/plus, and that'll take you to the cart page. What is OAC Plus? It's takes so long to talk about. There's so much to offer, so many different ways that it's going to make you money. It's going to make back your membership and more. OAC Plus has a dedicated flip alert channel. It's going to feed you A to A flips 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That thing's constantly going off. You're going to have to turn off the notifications, more than likely. You get free access to Storefront Stalker Pro. That is one of my all-time favorite tools, one of my most valuable tools. It makes me so much money every time I jump in there. You get free access as a member of OAC Plus. You're going to get the basic plan, get you 3 stores per month. That alone is enough to more than make up for your membership fee. If you decide you like it, you can actually get a 40% discount on the bigger plans. There are 10, 20, and 40 store plans. I have the 40 store plan, and I get about 5,000 ASINs every single week, right? So the dashboard will hold 20,000 ASINs total. I get 20,000 every single month. So that dashboard completely refreshes itself every 30 days on average. You get access to $3,000 worth of courses. There's a wholesale course. There's the credit card points and miles challenge is in there. Keepa Academy is in there. The OA challenge replays are in there. You'll also get free access. That's a $400 value to every future OA challenge. You get to attend those free of charge as an OAC Plus member. And the stuff in the course library, it's on demand, right? So you can access whatever you want, whenever you want. You can look up specific modules. If you need something, you need to brush up on something, you can go specifically find what you need at any point in time. 4 a.m, you can access it. Every single week on Monday nights at 9:00 Eastern, I do a live sourcing session. I run for at least 90 minutes. They usually end up being 2 hours. And I source. I share my screen, right? I'll show my Storefront Stalker Pro dashboard. You see the actual leads that I pay for access to. I share those with you. And I source and I think out loud. And I tell you exactly what I'm looking at. I'll tell you why I'm going to stop searching for this one. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to keep going. I tell you where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. Last Monday, 2 days ago, we ran, it's about 100 minutes. It was about an hour 40 of actual sourcing time. We found over $400 in projected profit. So, people seem to really find it helpful, So, live coaching calls every Thursday at noon. Chris is usually he comes with a tip or a trick to make you a better seller. And then every session ends with a Q&A session live with Christopher Grant. So you have any questions, obviously you can pop them into the chat. There's also a Discord community where people are talking, chatting in different channels with different themes and different functions. You can ask in there, but then you also have a chance to ask him live every single week. And there's also, you get suspension support, right? You can actually open up a ticket. If things go sideways, you get the peace of mind of knowing that you have Chris Grant there for you, and he's going to help you with communicating with the Amazon people that are handling this stuff with you, they're trying to take care of you. He's provided templates on, POAs, templates for emails on what to say to these people. You can actually, in a private channel, a confidential channel, you can actually get in there. You can share the documents like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what they said. This is what they're asking for. And Chris will help you work on getting your account back and get you back selling. So then Chris isn't a lawyer, right? So it's not quite apples to apples. But in 2 days, Seller Basics goes up to $200 a month for their retainer, just to have them available to you. So to be able to get that similar support without a law degree for $59, I mean, there's it's just packed with value. If you know Chris Grant, he always over delivers. So for the ability to use the code Black Friday 40 and get this all for $59 a month, it's really a no-brainer. If and I'm trying to give you give you the insight to help you know that this is a great opportunity. So. All right, so let's see what else is going on. We're at about an hour now, so the last call for questions. We'll call that now. Polly says OAC Plus is the GOAT. You will not get an argument from me. I was able to auto ungate and procure a lead for the first time from this past Monday's sourcing session. I've seen more auto ungates. Yeah, you know what, Heather, I meant to say that to you. I forget what we were talking about, but it was about a day or two ago. I was going to say something. I was like, it seems like you're starting to maybe emerge from that sandbox that I call. That's kind of how it happens. It's, it doesn't actually, you don't sit there and realize it all at once. You're like, oh, I'm out of the sandbox. They don't send a notification or something. It's more of a gradual thing where it's like, okay, things get easier. You start getting more auto ungates, and it's like, you just kind of slowly emerge until after a while, you kind of look back and say, oh, all right, this is it. So Syed says you won't regret it. The OAC Plus. It is full of knowledge, and it's not just the moderators. Like I'm a moderator in there. Chris Grant's in there. He's active. There's as much to learn from the community as well, which is, it's really kind of the point of trying to get more people in there. I've always, the value of networking with all different types of sellers. You don't only get value from big sellers that are where you want to eventually be. There is value as a new seller. Basically every active seller, regardless of where your orange bars are, has something to offer, because there's real experience. There's active interaction with the marketplace, and we're not going to cover every aspect of it just via our own selling. Like we're only going to come across what we come across. There's all sorts of corners and different hallways and stuff of things that we haven't had particular experience with. And to have a community like OAC Plus, have somewhere where you can just throw something out like, hey, this is new to me. Does anybody have any experience? It's not necessarily always the big sellers that are going to say, hey, yeah, I went through that. Could be somebody selling same amount you are, selling less than you are. Like, hey, yeah, I just went through that. This is what happened. This is what I did. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. So there's valuable input from the community. Don't necessarily think that only the big sellers, the people where you want to eventually be, are the ones that have something to offer. So community networking is great. All right, so we'll start wrapping it up here. Before you guys go, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate all you guys showing up. I know it's there's plenty of stuff to do for the holiday, and there's still a bunch of people came out and decided to hang out on the show. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you again to everybody that participated in Movember. The Sunday show will be the last day of Movember, so we're not quite done with the mentions yet, but thank you to everyone that showed generosity and showed support to me in this cause. It means a lot. Quick breakdown on it. Movember, if you're not familiar, it's for men's health. They're covering, they're fighting prostate cancer, testicular cancer, which are both two cancers that are prevalent with young men. They deal with mental health and suicide prevention. 4 out of 5 suicides in the U.S. are men. So we're trying to, it gives you resources. It's trying to put out awareness on how to have some conversations. Men they don't talk about their feelings, and Movember's trying to change that. they're trying to save some lives. That's what it all boils down to. Especially I like that Thanksgiving happens in November. I'd like to think that was intentional. Because Thanksgiving, it's a time if you get into the spirit of Thanksgiving, and you have that family dinner, it's a time specifically where you can look around the table at your loved ones, and give thanks and really reflect on the family members, and having the love and support, of your blood relatives, and break bread together. So the fact that November happens during Thanksgiving, it's fitting, because that's what it's about. There's the reason that I decided to support November happened on a Thanksgiving. I kind of looked around, and my dad and my stepdad and my sons were there. And I decided I didn't want anything bad to happen, and if there was a way that I could change and reduce the chances of something bad happening to them, whether it be cancer, whether it be mental health, whether it just be any kind of struggle, whether it be in the body or the head, I was going to do what I can. So 13 years later, we are here now. I actually lifetime, I've actually crossed the $20,000 mark, just since you guys jumped in last year and this year. I've raised over $15,000 just in those 2 years alone. Put that into perspective, it took me 11 years just to raise a grand total of 5,000. So it's amazing how you guys have stepped up and taken me to levels I didn't think was possible. So very much appreciated. Thankful for you all. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for showing up twice a week, day in or week in, week out, I should say. So have a great day. Try to stay focused with all the deals, all the Black Friday deals. I'll be thankful when I don't hear the term Black Friday very much anymore, because we've had early access to it for a very long time. So a lot of plates spinning in the air. Try to stay focused, because there's a lot of money to be made. There's some really, really low buy costs and good opportunities out there. So keep your head on a swivel, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you. We'll be back here on Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, Standard Time, Eastern Time, whatever. And I hope to see you then. Have a great Turkey Day. Talk at you soon.